speaker is going to talk about the most painful thing I ever did in Go, which is debugging concurrent programs. I'll give an applause for Andrew.
Hi, can you hear me well? Nice. I'm very pleased all of you here at FOSDEM in person finally since all this COVID. And today I will talk about debugging concurrent programs in Golang and a little bit about myself. My name is Andriy. I'm a software engineer originally from Ukraine, currently unfortunately living in Austria. I'm a big fan of sport, gymnastics, CrossFit, and different debuggers, etc. The interest in parallel programming has grown dramatically in recent years. And the added complexity of expressing concurrency has made debugging parallel programs even harder than debugging sequential programs. And usually, sorry, every day at work, I feel like I have these 8 stages of debugging myself. So that can happen. That does not happen on my machine. That should not happen. Why does it happen? Oh, I see now. I feel I know what's the problem. Then, how did it ever work? So last couple of days I saw PR like, oh, it's not working since 2 years, some code. And like, who wrote this? And like, oh wait, it was me. So the classical approach for debugging sequential programs involves very easy, like straightforward way. So we rapidly stop on and set breakpoints. We just go step by step, and like sometimes we print something, sometimes we continue, rerun, etc. So, and this style we just usually we call is cyclic debugging. But the problem, unfortunately, parallel or concurrent programs do not always have reproducible behavior, even when they run with the same inputs on the same machine with the same results. So, and output results usually can be radically different, and it's hard to predict. This difference occur, for example, when you run some program, and as you can see, it's very dummy one, but output is different each time when I run it on my machine. Sometimes it's same, but sometimes not. Yeah, I spend lots of time to read some books and articles and videos on YouTube. I just always trying to find like a question, like an answer to my question. Okay, there is any like, okay, we have books how to write code, we have books how to write tests. Okay, how to debug code? There is no books. Even there is no books to how to debug concurrent programs. And so, and to start explaining my journey, how I usually do it, let's a little bit remind what is goroutine. So goroutine is just like an abstraction. Yeah, it's by the way, a struct which handle goroutine under the hood inside Go. And usually goroutines are multiplex on different or multiply OS threads. So if one should block, and like we're waiting for some IO call, others can continue to run. And there are also lots of design which hides many complexities of thread creation and management. So Golang do it on our own, so it's nice. And to create a goroutine, it's very easy. Just prefix your function with Go keyword, and that's new goroutine. Nothing complicated. By the way, who knows why they name it goroutines? Maybe somebody have ideas? Yeah, go ahead. Why not just call it coroutine? So, okay, nice. So in each language, we can just replace first letter and like all routines. Yeah, yes and no. So like they call it, at least from what I read, they call it because like threads, coroutines, processes, and so on. It's not an accurate explanation what goroutines does. So goroutine has its own like simple model and how it's executed, etc., etc. And that's why like they know it. Cool. So next question. Before I will share my experience, how do you think, how can I debug my concurrent program? So, nice.
Can you repeat what the answer was for the stream? Thank you.
Can you repeat the question, you mean?
If you have an answer from the room, can you quickly repeat it so it's recorded on the stream?
Okay, yeah, will do. So let's repeat. How can I debug my concurrent program? So the gentleman suggested using prints. Nice.
Delph.
Yes, nice. It's also of Delph, by the way. Okay, any other ideas? Okay, yes. Yeah, it's a good idea. Nice. So just to repeat for people who are watching, their ideas was using debugger Delph, using trace, using tests, etc. So my first assumption was, okay, playground. Let's play a little bit. And like few years ago, like when I started like writing this talk, to be honest, was like a limit. So playground worked only with Go Max Prods 1, so it always like reproduced my program. But right now it's more or less simulate local development. Okay, I have more like bright ideas. So maybe we can just color logs. I don't know, visualize goroutines, why not? So here's a funny package, which just what it does, it's just like print different goroutines with different colors, like this. So yeah, I mean, if you do something very quick, you can just figure out which goroutine, which color, etc. Yeah. Return to seriously, there is interesting article. It's quite old, but one of my friends from Ukraine, he like wrote this article also a few years ago. He decided to visualize how all this scheduling or routines works with these fancy pictures. Also very good article to read, highly recommend. Another idea is try to print how Go schedule events. So there is the environment variable which can print you some extra information and yeah. And of course, using debuggers. Today I will focus a little bit on Delph and a little bit on GDB. So next question. Can I set breakpoint inside goroutine? Any ideas? Yes? No? Yes? So the answer is yes. Yeah, typically you can set breakpoint inside goroutine. You can jump into this goroutine, see what's inside, and yeah, it's very handy, especially if you develop like server and other stuff. Okay. What about channels? So if I decide like send a message to the buffer channel of size 4, yeah, it's very nice that you can set breakpoint, you can pre-channel, and Delph has very fancy like metadata which shows you even like current channel state. So you see I send like one, it's a first item, and some meta information, also useful. Then if I add another one, so like next, you see now I have two elements in channel. And the small problem, usually like if I want to send message to channel from Delph CLI, unfortunately it's not supported. Here's the issue I created. Yeah, and there's a comment that, yeah, we can fix it, but yeah. I hope we will fix it sometime. Yeah, so you can't set, so technically it's possible, but it's not, I mean, so it can be same semantic, you can set, and Delph will handle it. Okay, now let's focus a little bit on how we can debug goroutines. So, yeah, if you're inside a goroutine and you will print a state of goroutine, there's a keyword goroutine. It prints current goroutine where you put your breakpoint. But if you have lots of goroutines, there's like interesting feature I really use a lot. So, but let's step back a little bit. There's another idea and like implementation. You can use these profile labels. So it's inside pprof model. So you can run pprof do and inside through context run your code, and it will like mark your goroutine with label. And usually you use these labels for profiling. So you can open pprof profiles and see like some different metrics. But you can do it also with Delph, which is super cool. So you can, if you label your goroutines with labels, like this, and or if you use like middleware, you can also do it. I mean, if you use web server, you can use this middleware. I post link on next slide. And it will automatically like add labels to all your handlers, which is nice. So you can see like which handler you are currently, because if you print goroutines, you will see like, even in Delph, you will see lots of unreadable information. But if you just need to focus, I don't know, on login goroutines or like goroutines which are doing something with your database, you can label it in the same manner as you do with pprof. And then, yeah, also you can do it directly, by the way. This library which I mentioned, it's very small one. It's also support like set labels. It's just a wrapper, so very handy one. And then, if you run goroutines keyword inside Delph debugger, -L, it will print goroutines. It's just very simple hello world, which has like this main goroutine and few other goroutines without any labels, etc. But then I created another like project inspired by one article, and yeah. So here you can print all goroutines which related to your like label page, and yeah. Also you can go to docs and find different like group by, I don't know, filters. So it's very handy, and how you can find your goroutine. Then you can switch to this goroutine if you don't know. Also you can print or list source code. You can set new breakpoint. It's very nice. And yeah, also you can use this demo project. It's not mine, but it's more written for Golang. But if to run it, you just need to this small tweak. You need pass some build flags and tags debugger. Otherwise, this library will not work. And then you can repeat everything I did. I highly recommend to play with that. and when you need it, you will be already like with everything you need. Regarding GDB, yeah, I play a little bit with them. It's quite not supported what I need for Golang, and yeah, it has this like info goroutines keyword. As far as I remember, you can't like filter goroutines, and it's not readable. So like, yeah, especially this part. Yeah, and I decided to not waste my time, to be honest, because it's, yeah, you can just use Delph and for such problem rather than playing with GDB. Cool. So next, not only with debugger you can find your problems. One important problem in Golang world is deadlocks. And with deadlocks, usually program gets stuck on the channel send operation, which waiting forever, for example, to read the value. And nice that Golang support detection of these situations compared to other languages. For example, Python does not support this deadlock detection, which is hard to debug such problems. And yeah, if you need like real world examples, you can see this very interesting library GoDeadlock, which using this library author found lots of deadlocks on CockroachDB, and there are lots of interesting examples how mutexes can be handled properly, how to write it properly, and etc. etc. It's like a this library is an entire separate like discussion. Returning to our case, yeah, I wrote like I put to slides this very simple example. So yeah, sometimes you have this conflicting access, and you have this data races, and I saw it few times in some open source projects, but usually people do not do it. So I highly recommend run your CI pipeline with this dash race, especially tests. It helps you like always run with this flag, and it will print you like if there is data races or not. This dash race not always can find all data races. Some common, yes, but sometimes no. But highly recommend to add it to your project, so never skip it. So now I have like seven. I have a 7 rules for you. So how to unblock yourself when you get stuck on something and you don't know how to debug it. So first, never assume a particular order of execution. So when you're writing concurrent programs, try to always think about not running it in a particular order. Especially it works with some benchmarks and tests. So try to not put this like, I also saw it lots of times when people, when you run Go test by default, if you know, they run it in parallel. But usually people say like, no, run it like sequentially, and that's not a good idea. Another advice, it's more about designing than writing code. Try to implement your any concurrency logic at highest level as possible. Try to not pass lots of channels, lots of like goroutines, etc. Try to like keep logic separately and this concurrency separately. Yeah, don't forget, as I said, go race not always helps, because it's not detects when program like whole freeze. It's only when a subset of goroutines gets stuck. As gentleman suggested, you can use strace and different tools for tracing, which can help you to see, like, are we waiting for some resource, like reading file, access network. It's more low level, but it's very useful. Yeah, I show it on another talk, but you probably know about it. You can use conditional breakpoints, which helps you to cover cases, especially when it's concurrent program, so you can catch only your case, not like click next on every goroutine. As I said, you can use scheduling tracer, you can use go deadlock, and yeah, last but not least, use debugger. Don't forget about it. It's also very handy. And like every release, every version, I see how debuggers are adding new stuff, which is nice. Cool. So I have like few references, because to cover everything is hard in 25 minutes. I will post slides so you can accurately read everything. No need maybe to like picture it. And thank you.
Thank you.
And questions.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, and before you're thinking, if you want to donate to Ukraine, just let me know. Few of my friends right now are fighting, so we can help directly if you're afraid.
Thank you. Oh, I have a question.
Have you tried using tools such as RR or Hermit, which try to execute the program in a deterministic fashion?
You mean backwards?
Yes, they can do a recording of the execution and then replay it, but the point is that the recording is deterministic.
Yeah, I use it for sequential debugging, never for concurrent debugging. I mean, maybe it's possible, but in my case, it's I covered what I just showed. Of course, there are other cases. I will try.
If you are leaving the room, try to stay quiet for a second. Do not talk. Chairs are okay, so we can still hear any questions. Well, there are no more questions. That means your talk was very clear. Thank you, and a round of applause.